there, grateful gangsters. This is Lauren Blanchard Zaleski, the Gratitude Addict, coming to you with a special, very special episode of Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. We are at a special time today because we have a very special guest. He's from the UK. His name is Girma Bishaw. He's with the Gratitude Initiative. And I thank you for bearing with us with a special time. I'm glad you're here. You're not going to want to miss this episode because he's got such an incredibly powerful story. His organization is doing wonderful things. So I'm very glad you're here. If you're new to the broadcast, welcome. I come to you every Thursday, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is four hours from now if you're in the U.S. If you are, today happens to be the 7-year anniversary of my Facebook community, which is called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. You can see that under my picture. Many of you are watching from in there, so hello. So it is our 7-year anniversary, so I'm doing something a little bit special, and I will be coming to you with another live broadcast tonight at our regular time, 8 p.m., but it is only for members of AOG, as we call it. It's just a special little birthday party we're going to have, and I'll give away some prizes, and Sandy Montgomery, who's our resident poet, is going to come on for a few minutes and read some of her poetry. So happy birthday to AOG. It has brought so much joy to my life. And we recently hit 8,000 members, which is just unbelievably humbling and beautiful. I'm so grateful for all of you. We are an interactive broadcast. We love live viewers, and please feel free to comment with any questions, comments you may have. Girma has, like I said, an incredibly powerful story. So I have a feeling that you're going to want to, say hello, ask him questions and all that. Please feel free to do that. And I will do my best to get to all of the comments that I can. So first, before I bring him on, I just want to thank, last week we had Toni Bernhard on, author Toni Bernhard, who is near and dear to my heart. She's been on the show a few times. She's author of several books on living with chronic pain and illness. The response to her episode was unbelievable. She's helped so many people. So if you're watching, Toni, thank you so much for coming on. I know an hour is a long time for people living with chronic pain and illness. So thank you very much. And we have some, before I bring Girma on, I just want to show you guys some upcoming episodes that we have. So like I said, tonight at 8 o'clock, if you feel like joining us twice, 8 o'clock, we will have a 7th anniversary party. It's only, again, this one's private, only for members of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. So hope you can join us. Next Thursday, Kevin Monroe is going to be joining us. He is the founder of something called Gratitude Encounter, and he trains organizations how to create a culture of gratitude, which is very similar to what Girma with the Gratitude Initiative is doing with the UK. So that's going to be a great episode. The following week, Mary Beth Salmons is going to be on. She was supposed to be on before Christmas, and a personal issue came up. She couldn't come on, but she is the author of several books on gratitude, and she's got some wonderful stories of gratitude and resilience to share with us. So join in for that. And then we're into February, and I've got Alon Joseph coming on, and the name of our episode is going to be called The Gratitude and the Power of You. So that's he's another gratitude spreader that I can't wait to share with you all. I feel so humbled and grateful for all of these amazing guests that are so willing to come on and share their message of hope and gratitude with us in these, very troubling times. And, my hope with this broadcast is just to come to you each week, bring you these amazing guests, and that you take a couple nuggets of wisdom and hope and help for your own life that you can take and apply to your own life. I know I sure do. So without further ado, let me bring on our guest, Girma Bishaw. Girma, welcome so much to the broadcast. It's a pleasure having you here.
Well, it's a joy to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
I found you. I believe I found you. I usually like to talk about how I stalk my guests and how I find them. I definitely stalked you, but I believe I found you through Dr. Fuchsia Sirwa,
That's right.
She has been on the on the broadcast a few times, and I know she does work with you. I think that's how I found your organization. And as soon as I heard about the Gratitude Initiative, I believe I immediately reached out to you. So this is Reverend Dr. Bishaw. You're the founder and director of the Gratitude Initiative. Rather than me reading your bio, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, how you've gotten here, and tell us I've watched, like I told you before the broadcast, and we met once before. Everything you say, your message of gratitude is just so powerful that I just want to let you talk.
Thank you. Yeah. So, as you said, my name is Girma Bishaw, originally from Ethiopia. Many people struggle to pronounce my name, so I always tell what it means for people. It actually gives me a pleasure to tell the meaning of my name. It means majesty, so people can say Your Highness when they see me.
Your Highness, all right, Your Highness. We will call you Your Highness. That's definitely fitting.
So I came to the UK in 1990 and did all my studies here in the UK, and I did my doctoral studies at Kentucky, in the US, and I have been a pastor pastoring Ethiopian church for about 18 years before I started Gratitude Initiative. I think as I answer some of your questions, why I engaged with Gratitude Initiative, what made me start Gratitude Initiative will be revealed in time. But kind of being in London, where there are more than 320 languages spoken. I mean, the whole world is in London. Just that the presence of diverse people group in London, and witnessing the strifes and kind of the barriers between communities and the struggle, not having harmony in different communities made me to think a great deal, and kind of reflecting back on my journey made me to discover that gratitude could be a framework that could help difficult conversations to happen, and people who have emotional pain because of the experiences, the negative experience that they had, could actually be alleviated above the consequences of the negative actions that is taken against them, and be able to do good that would and reverse the situation. So I'm really excited to be here and to lead Gratitude Initiative.
So tell us how you came from Ethiopia to London. I remember you telling me the story, and did you just want to be among people that more diverse people, or there was something going on in Ethiopia, if I'm remembering correctly? Yes.
That's right. No, yeah. I didn't come to the UK by choice. It was Ethiopia was in civil war with Eritrea, and it was under the communist regime. Mm-hmm. And at the time, the government was kind of forcing young people to recruiting and forcing young people to go to that civil war. And two things were difficult for us. One, there wasn't any adequate training given to the young people. There was really, I don't know whether there was a shortage of soldiers, but there is kind of a very speedy process, and people were coming back from the war front amputated and kind of, we were witnessing people in local hospitals. So that was scary for young people to engage in. And secondly, it's a civil war, and I have friends from that particular part of the country that I'm really close to, and it's like fighting with their parents. And I think that is the dilemma of civil war in any situation, anyway. But So I needed to leave Ethiopia. I mean, at the time, many young people were leaving Ethiopia. So Britain was not my. I have had absolutely no knowledge of Britain.
Oh, really?
I didn't know anything at all. Never. It was actually for the first time I read a bit before I went back to the embassy for interview, just to know. I mean, the how I got the visa was by itself another story, but. I thought I would be having an interview, so I needed to go there prepared. So that was the first time I started to read, about London, about places where you visit, and kind of the historical places of Britain. But other than that, I had absolutely no knowledge. And
did you know English at the time?
My English was extremely poor. It's just totally non-existent. Obviously, we did study in English in high school, but it's not practiced. It's not something that. No, my English was non-existent.
No.
It was a problem.
That must have been rough. Yeah.
That's right. So it was kind of the first time leaving my family and as a young man, kind of coming to a foreign land. So I wasn't expecting to meet anybody at the airport. So it was quite daunting experience.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So you left your family behind, and that must have been very difficult. How did you get through all that?
So I think at the time, for my family, it was a relief because, particularly my mother, because my father passed when I was very young, so he wasn't there. But my mother, it was a great relief for her that I found a way out from Ethiopia and that difficult time. So that was the focus. It was just once you left your country, and that once you left your house, that it started to. You start to realize that it will take a long time before you see each other. So yeah,
that was very brave, very, very brave of you. So how did gratitude come into the picture for you? How did I know you had said that I know we've talked before about how it changes conversations, and I think you can take that to a much grander scale too, like our worldwide conversation. But how did you get the idea, or how did it first come into your life, where you really thought maybe you could do something with this here?
So, recently I was really reflecting back to my childhood. Sometimes being deprived could actually create a heart of gratitude in you.
I'm sure.
Sometimes when we have everything, there's a tendency to take things for granted, and you don't really realize the preciousness of what is in your hand, the preciousness of people, the preciousness of even kind of the lifestyle that you're living. So obviously COVID, the pandemic, showed us how the little things of life are so important. The human touch, and when we are deprived of meeting our friends, attending weddings, funerals, and all sorts of things, you start to think, wow, those things are really, really precious. That's so being deprived of something that you have taken for granted for a while really wakes you up to appreciate the little things. So when I was, so I reflecting back on my childhood, I think that also fed into my kind of the concept of gratitude, kind of the heart of gratitude, because my father was a high rank military person who eventually became a mayor of a province in Ethiopia, and he was quite a rich man, and we were very wealthy, and we were living very comfortable life. And I was very, very small, But the revolution came, and he died before the revolution came. But when the revolution came, we lost everything. I mean, we were driven out from our home. Kind of everything become minimized. I mean, the things that we have never thought of, like the necessity of life, have never been into conversation. We took everything as granted, but that downsizing and forced it to downsize and forced it to live from our home to a smaller place, and kind of our income, our almost everything was taken. So my mother was encouraging us to focus on the opportunities that we have, and kind of really what if we don't have this, and kind of really she sowed that seed of looking at the good in life rather than what we have deprived of. And that deprivation started to whenever something good happens, you start to appreciate the things that you have taken as granted before become so precious to you. So I think that there was a contribution into my psychic, what happened then. And the other thing was the fact that I lost my father, and that I never had an opportunity to, we don't call our dads daddy in Ethiopia. We call them Ababa. So Ababa is a very precious language, and I never had a chance to call to use that word to someone because my father wasn't there. So that loss, and looking at my friends, how they take their father as granted, sometimes when they speak about their dads negatively, used to make me angry. You have no idea what it means to have a dad. Yes. So kind of that's deprived. Some of the experience of being deprived of precious things of life made me to embrace and kind of appreciate, kind of develop the attitude of gratitude, attitude of appreciation. And I think that was kind of my childhood. But coming to Britain from a war situation, a country that I have no knowledge of, the people that I have no relation to, and being received and being given a place to live, a money to live by, opportunity to work, to study, and to become a contributor, led me to really deeply appreciate the generosity that I have experienced in Britain. Despite any negativity that I have come experience in the way, that become overwhelming thing in my mind and kind of in my heart. So that sometimes it is a negative which is very loud, and the positive stories are not. There isn't any platform where you kind of share your experience, what it means to. The generosity, what the generosity of the British people have actually contributed to my life and to many others who have come from a very, very difficult situation to Britain. What it means. So that became kind of. I started really to whenever I get a chance, whenever I get a platform, I just share my story and express my gratitude. And but in my encounter with diverse people group, and kind of really engaging in conversations of hearing people, my own negative experience, and also other people's negative experiences, and whenever I am in a kind of in a multicultural setup, multicultural context, we are not really bold enough to raise those negative issues in a constructive manner, because it's a very emotionally it's a very emotional thing. So when you talk about something, the emotions become very strong, and the focus becomes the emotion rather than the issue, if you know what I mean. So
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yes. So people become afraid to raise those issues, and kind of there are elephants in the room. We push down issues, and we are not able to communicate, and that really hindered a great deal of hindered a positive relationship, and issues. People's there's suspicion, there's misunderstanding, there's resentment, and all kinds of things. So that became also a concern to me, and as I reflect back and see on the conversations where I started by highlighting the good, the conversation actually went really, really well, and kind of the relationship continued. And on the conversation I was engaged in, starting from the negative, even if it is answering their question, the person's question, but it is kind of talking about the negative. That conversation didn't go far, and the relationship didn't last. So recognizing how celebrating the positive, celebrating the good, is actually instrumental in opening people's heart to listen and have really proper conversation, became a reality to me. And I felt that gratitude could create that environment where constructive conversation could take place, and people could listen to each other, and people could be able to hear other people's story, and understand, and healing and reconciliation and healing could take place. So that is what really encouraged me to pursue gratitude in Britain.
It's beautiful. I love, I was on your website earlier, and you have a section that on your homepage, this is why we promote gratitude. And I wanted to read that because I think it's just so beautiful. Why we promote gratitude. We are convinced that a greater culture of gratitude can make a very significant social contribution. A society in which resentments towards the other are frequently expressed without respect and mutual appreciation is a society in danger of fragmentation. A society, however, in which gratitude to the other is readily expressed is one that will be inevitably more stable and coherent. We feel that in the wake of recent political and social developments, this message, while timeless, is of particular value and urgency. That right. I found that so moving. That's pretty much what you just said. I find that so moving. It sounds like your mother really planted the seed for you to kind of, pursue this. Yes, and I know you gave me permission that we could speak about this. Unfortunately, you just you recently lost your mother, and my heart goes out to you. You lost her to COVID several months ago, right? Yeah. So how are you able to cope with that? I mean, that's trauma, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you are grieving, grief attracts all kinds of regrets to feed into. What if I do this? What I should have done this with her. I should have. You can go to that direction that could reinforce the pain of losing her. But I really chose to, I think for me, gratitude is an antidote for grief. Because obviously, you have to be intentional, to practicing gratitude until it becomes, the second nature to you.
Right.
It takes intentionality. So sure. I chose to focus on what kind of person she was and the time we had together. Particularly, I'm so grateful that I was with her in December for one full month, and 2020 December, and we have had absolutely amazing time together with her. Going out to different places, visiting different museums and parks, and she used to love massage, so I used to take her to a place where she get massage, and
you're a good son.
kind of the fun, yeah. So I am so grateful of that quality time I had, and how strong person she was. And also during the funeral, I met people that I didn't know before. Young people and elderly people coming and telling me about what my mother meant to them and kind of what she had done and everything. That was a great encouragement for me. So choosing to focus on that and be grateful and really remembering her and celebrating her life made my pain easier, and talking about her with my children and with other people of talking about that positive story about her really brought me from that pain and kind of regret and kind of negativity. So yeah,
that's beautiful. You've got some beautiful messages from our live audience. I'm neglecting Sandy Montgomery. So sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Karen, so sorry. Linda, hugs and prayers. Yeah, we're very, very sorry. It's
thank you.
Yeah, tough times. Let's get to some of our other comments. I'm sorry, I'm neglecting you guys. Let's see, Jill Cook here. Thank you both. Thanks, Jill, for being here. Linda, hello. Happy anniversary, AOG. Thank you. Hope you guys can come back at 8. But if you could only pick one, this is the one you want to be at for sure, because you guys get to see me every day. Oh, my mom's here, and I would never talk badly about my mom. My mom is so supportive. Hi, Mom. Grateful Gangsters, happy 7th anniversary. Thank you for being here. Did you experience culture shock coming to Britain? Says Christine Malloy.
Yeah, absolutely. It was overwhelming. And initially, actually, for a few years, I needed to be around some Ethiopians, kind of the people. I obviously, because in the church context, it's an Ethiopian church, so eating the same kind of food and speaking our language, and kind of that gave me a little bit of a relief, because when you go out to the wider culture, there are so many things that you don't understand, and you are misunderstood and you misunderstand, and it was overwhelming. But gradually, I started to understand. I started to.
Were there a lot of Ethiopians that went over as well? Did you have like a group of you, or did you really just go by yourself?
So I went on my own at the time, but there was a lot of Ethiopians started to come, Eritreans and Ethiopians, and there were also Ethiopians who have come to Britain to study and stayed here because the situation back home changed. So they were the ones who had that kind of fellowship. So I joined in with them. So that was a great encouragement for me. So yeah, and yeah, culture is really. Some of the culture shocks is very obvious. Some of them you don't even. It takes years to understand that the reason why you are uncomfortable is because of your cultural background, rather than it's because it's wrong from the other side. So just to give an example, with my son in my own house. He was born here, and so in our house there was two cultures, which I didn't know. There was a British culture and the Ethiopian culture. In our culture, children never speak back to their parents. There's no way. I wouldn't be able to speak back to my mom, whether she's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And that's not the issue. It just, you look down and just listen. And when my son starts to speak back to me, and I thought he disrespects me, and I said to him, you disrespect me. He said, how? And I said, because you are speaking back to me. And he said to me, so what do I do? In the British culture, not speaking back, not explaining yourself is actually a disrespect. So it didn't occur to me that was a cultural problem. Rather, I thought it was actually intentionally disrespecting me. So the penny dropped, and I said, oh my goodness, there's actually a cultural difference. And that opened a door for me to really, not only just in my house, but to understand some of my, blind spots when it comes to culture.
Right. Interesting. So, so you see how gratitude is affecting your life. How do you get from that to forming the Gratitude Initiative? You formed it in 2015. Am I right about
that? That's
yes.
right. Yes. Yeah. So you see that's my experience of the generosity of the rich people here, and kind of the looking at how people work with resentment, try to how there isn't any kind of environment where there's a constructive conversation taking place. I started to encourage gratitude, and when I started to talk about gratitude, people were getting offended. They were saying, you have no idea what the pain we are experiencing, and I didn't know why they were finding it difficult. But eventually, I understood that their understanding of gratitude is different from mine.
Yeah.
So there is a tendency to consider gratitude as a transactional thing. Why would I be grateful? What have you done to me? Why would I? It's a passive approach to life. You wait for someone to do something for you, life to do something good for you, and then you express your gratitude. That is a place for it. But for me, gratitude is an acknowledgement of the good. It's a proactive engagement with life. Life. It's acknowledging the good in life. When you recognize and acknowledge the good, then the response varies. It could be verbal, saying thank you. It could be motivational. You want to do good because you have witnessed the good. It could be changing opinions of the other person because I acknowledge the good in you, and my opinion of you changes. And kind of gratitude is wider than a transactional thing. It is acknowledging the primacy of the good. The good has primacy. The good, that's why we love good. That's why we appreciate, the bad to change into the good. The good is where we are at home. So the good has primacy, not evil. Evil for me is intruder. Whether it is in our bodies, whether it is in the world, it is intruder. That's why we detest it. That's why we can't live with it. That's why we want to see it change. So we can't start from the intruder. We need to start from which have primacy. So when we start by celebrating and appreciating, well, in a social context, for example, what happens is that we create individuals, we create a psychological space for people, where there is conflict, there is animosity, there is issue. If you continuously talk about the negative and being condemning, being really challenging, kind of, then people get in a place of survival mode, either fight or flight.
Right,
so
fight or
they
flight,
might
right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
they become defensive of,
yes.
They don't want to hear you. They become defensive, or give you a lip service and go, and you'll never see them again. So, but if you start by celebrating the good, acknowledging the good, and by talking about the good, and not just just for the sake, but genuinely, because there is so many good things that we can acknowledge and celebrate, then that actually creates a psychological space for people, and began to see their own bias, their own, they began to encounter, you could give them a space where they can encounter their own perception and be able to listen to you, understand you. So that psychological space is very, very important. So I started to ask, okay, what is it that we want in our social relationship, in our communities? What do we want? Do we want to inflict the pain that we have, where it has been inflicted upon us? Do we want people to feel miserable, guilty, or do we want transformation? If we want transformation, then we need to take human psychology into account. Human psychology functions and becomes at ease and receiving when we start by acknowledging and celebrating the good, but when we are gratefully approaching. Gratitude gives grace. It creates that environment that people don't need to defend themselves, don't need to do anything. They just be able to be themselves. So because you are appreciating their humanity, appreciating who they are, you're focusing on the good in them rather than the bad in them. So that's not avoiding the negative. It's approaching to tackle the negative from a very different, a very positive, a very energizing, a very motivational kind of approach. It creates inner pressure in the other person to change when you are actually approaching with gratitude. So looking, witnessing people who have resentment against the other, embracing gratitude and changing their language really encouraged me to start the Gratitude Initiative. And it has been really amazing journey for me. We are not in a hurry. We don't expect, society to perceive and kind of appreciate gratitude and catch with it very, very quickly. It's a gradual process. We are not here, we didn't get here kind of a negative sense overnight. It took us a long time to come where we are. So we're trying to use every avenue possible to be able to share our story and introduce the concept of gratitude.
And you've got some big names in the gratitude world who have jumped on board. Like I mentioned, Dr. Fuchsia Sirwa has been on. Yeah. I know Dr. Giacomo Bono is.
That's right.
If you go on your if you go on their website, you can link to their YouTube channel. There are many, many, many beautiful videos from a lot of your featured speakers talking about the beauty of gratitude. And gosh, everything you just said, I want to write it all down and make quotes out of them because they're just beautiful. And you actually kind of touched on something I wanted to ask you about, which was, and I don't know if you talk about it as much in the UK, but there's a lot of talk here about, they call toxic positivity. And so I get that a lot, when I talk to people about my group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, for people that don't really understand what we do, their perception is that we are just putting on a fake smile, ignoring the pain, and sweeping it under the rug, which is so far from what, we do. We're doing exactly what you were talking about, which is focusing rather than focusing on what hurts, focusing on what doesn't hurt and looking towards the good, because we are wired towards the negative. That's just right. In our DNA, we're wired towards the negative, but we can rewire our brains, right, to look at the positive. And so I could be wrong about this, but maybe you'll correct me. I believe if I'm right, scientifically, they say it's easier to default to the negative. It requires more work mentally to work towards that gratitude. Am I right about that?
So the neurologists say that 70% of the average person's thought in a day is negative, whether it is about yourself, about others. So that is not helping at all. You can see how that contributes to the miserableness that we are experiencing, the depression and all sorts of things. So So that is our default position, and it takes intentionality to focus on the positive. And when you focus on the negative, and it hurts. It is not constructive. It is not encouraging. It is not. You're not. It doesn't help you to engage with other people positively. It doesn't help you to energize you to engage with your problems and from with energy. So that kind of focusing on the negative it just doesn't help for your health as well as with other relationships. I think for me, the gratitude, I thought a great deal on its impact on our relationship with other people and obviously with ourselves. But when you are grateful, you are actually acknowledging your limitation, because when you are grateful, you are looking outside of yourself. You're looking about nature, you're looking about other people, and you begin to see that from birth to death, your life is actually a contribution of thousands and thousands of people. You are here, you are where we are today by the contributions of thousands and thousands of people. There's nothing we can do without the others. So when you start to appreciate how people are important, how you are interdependent with each other, and you start to appreciate other people, the way you look at them would change. The way you look at your colleagues in the workplace changes. The way you look at your parents, everyone would change, and you start to kind of appreciate, and also brings humility to life, because you know that you have a need of other people. So this focusing on the positive, being developing heart of gratitude, being intentional. It's not, as you say, people think that it is ignoring the negative and kind of pretending as if it doesn't exist. It's there's a book, I forgot, it's Pollyannism. It's like, it's naivety, considering everything positive. But that's not what we are talking about. What we are talking about is that the good has primacy. The good has power. We and we feel like there is energy that would be released in us to engage with, to overcome, to engage, or to endure with the negative. There is a life despite the difficulties that we're going through, the pains we're going through. There is still life to live in. It's actually courageousness. It is courage to choose to appreciate the good in the presence of the bad. It is courage. So it is not pretending as if we are kind of as if that pain doesn't exist, and kind of putting a false brave face. It's actually being courageous. It's understanding life. It's embracing life. It is living life to the full. It's understanding that in life there is pain, there is joy, there is all that. So focusing on appreciating, celebrating the good will give us the energy and the ability to endure the bad.
Oh my goodness. Everything you just said, I don't say it as eloquently in the group as you just did, but I love how you keep referring to energizing and energy, because that's so true. And I don't know that I've ever used that word when it comes to it, but it's so true. It really is an energy, isn't it? And then within my community, now I mentioned we just hit 8,000 people, being able to share that energy. Dr. Fuchsia Sirwa had shared with us that being able to share your gratitude with others gives it even more power. Like gratitude journals and all that are very, very important and helpful, but being able to share it within a community gives it even more power. And you also talked about, about looking outside of yourself, because a lot of us especially living with chronic pain and illness, we we tend to forget that there's something outside of us. You have to, whatever your version of God is, you have to look towards, a higher something outside of yourself that is not you, that we're not in control of everything that happens, but we can control our attitude towards things, right? Which is what you were mentioning. And you saying it is brave is so, I couldn't agree with you more. It is so brave. I call the members of our group queens and kings of badassery, because it's not easy, and it's not. I think a lot of people outside will think, you can say today I am grateful for, and that didn't work, and so they leave it. They don't realize it's really a regular practice, like an exercise that you need to add into your day, and eventually it does get easier.
And it's not just this is not just a good opinion or good thought. This is research based. In terms of psychologically, sociologically, the the sociologists talk about gratitude from the social point of view. Philosophically and religiously, theologically, there is a great deal of academic backup to this practice and this how this actually helps individual well-being as well as communal harmony. So this is not just a feeble emotional thing. This is a conviction. This is actually understanding the value of what gratitude could do in a person's life and relationship. So it is. I think it's as I said before, it's misunderstanding gratitude, thinking that that's just a transactional thing. So why would you be grateful in the presence of the negative, in the presence of pain? And so they don't, people don't understand that gratitude actually is powerful when it is expressed in the presence of pain and the negative, rather than when everything is flowery.
I love you had said a bit ago that gratitude is the antidote to grief.
That's right.
That is such a beautiful statement, which you may find on a graphic tomorrow, and I will quote you. That is so true. It really is. In that same light, how would you answer the question to people, with all of the suffering in the world, the children going hungry and the devastations in the world? How can you remain grateful in the presence of such deep world pain?
What surprises us in Africa and from the south, people from the southern hemisphere who have experienced all sorts of sufferings, whether it is natural the consequence of natural disaster or war or anything, where there is you witness contentment in the presence of lack. There's in life there's some kind of contentment. People live out of contentment, not out of there is that contentment. But in the West, where there is everything, you see a lack of contentment. We are not content. We are still waiting for something, to add something, whether it is professionally or materially, or there's always looking for something more. There isn't any kind of contentment. That leads into unhappiness. That prevents generosity. That leads into all sorts of things. So even in those kinds of situations, you find, you go there, and where I came from, the most deprived community, the way the hospitality is expressed out of that. It's just the joy of sharing, the joy of living with others, and kind of shows you that life is deeper than those things we feel that people have done. It's not obviously to deny the sufferings and kind of the atrocities that people are going through, but there is that. If you go and talk to those people, you'll be surprised where they get the joy from. You'll be surprised where they what gave them contentment. How can they? Why are they not miserable or hungry or anything like that? But you don't see that, and because there is life even despite all that, and for the little you give, they are grateful. Not losing aspiration to be better, but they do it from contentment rather than to be contained. So I don't think the presence of suffering and difficulties actually prevents gratitude. In fact, if we are grateful, we become more generous because we see the glass half full rather than half empty. So from the half full we'll be able to give and share with others and try to, we'll be looking at outside of ourselves, as I said, other people's suffering and kind of really make us to take steps towards others rather than dwell on our sufferings or our difficulties. So I understand there's a problem, but I don't think the presence of the problem prevents the expression of gratitude. It actually helps us to engage with it, help us to share what we have to change it and to change ourselves with that.
Have you seen the documentary called Happy?
No.
It used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it is any longer, but years ago I watched it, and it was basically vignettes of people all around the world, very poor people on the streets of Calcutta, India. And it was showing people and what makes them happy. And it talks exactly about what you just said, Girma. Just in the West, we are so consumed. We think that things and situation, that's not situational, is it? It's a state of being, and people that have much, much less than we do. And I think a lot of us we're constantly thinking, well, if only, I'll be happy when blank, or when I get blank. And then when we get that, we don't take the time to enjoy it. We're looking for the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So where are you looking to take the gratitude initiative in the future? How do you get your word out? And then, where would you like to see it go?
So, just to add one thing, obviously my Christian background informs my gratitude, and there's one word that always challenges me. It says, "What is it that you have that you haven't received?" And the very fact that kind of acknowledging the giftedness of life, that there's nothing really you have that you haven't received in any, whether our knowledge is informed by the knowledge of others, the book of others, and kind of in everything in life. So
beautiful.
We feel, as I said before, we are not. It takes time for people to really understand what we are talking about, what we are trying to do. People, as we were talking, assume that we ignore the negative, or we don't have the boldness to engage with the negative situations. But actually, you can, in the gratitude context, you can raise any issue. And people they won't feel condemned. They won't feel that you are trying to kind of to condemn them, but they feel at ease, and they'll be able to objectively engage with the issue that is raised. So we are working to develop a curriculum for schools.
Oh, wow.
We
That's
are
wonderful.
we are using every platform possible to practice and kind of and facilitate a platform where people practice gratitude, and as they practice gratitude, they discover the joy not only receiving gratitude but actually giving gratitude. Expressing gratitude. So we that and different events and we are using our gratitude initiative is a citizen movement, but we are using churches and to engage with the community to encourage gratitude culture, because we feel that gratitude is a common currency. It's a human language. There isn't any every person, every individual, every religion, everywhere you go, gratitude is a common currency. So it can bring people together. So yeah, we are using all the platforms. Hopefully my book will come out in May or June.
Yeah. Well, so, when it does, you can please come back and we will talk about it for sure. But gosh, I honor you for what you do, and I can see that our guests do too. I just want to show this comment. This episode has spoken so deeply into my soul. Thank you so much for appearing as a guest. I am so grateful for your share. I pray this will stay with me for the remainder of my life. Bless you, sir.
Thank you so
much. That is beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah. So for more information, I could talk to you for another 6 hours. I really could. For more information, you can find them at their website. It's gratitudeinitiative.org.uk. They're also on Facebook and Twitter. Girma Bishaw, I can't thank you enough for being here. It has been an honor to sit in your presence and learn from you and share with you about gratitude. I think your organization is doing a beautiful thing, and I really respect what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and very special that you're here on the 7-year anniversary of my group too. So
wonderful.
Thank you. I hope you come back soon, and thank you everybody for watching live. We had a great live audience at this special time, so thank you very much. And if you're watching on replay, you can find all the links in the show notes of the bio. And for those of you in the group, if you want to come back at 8:00 tonight Eastern Standard Time, we'll have a little party. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. Peace and love, gang.
Thank you so much. Thank you.